Oftentimes, one of the biggest worries or one of the biggest unknowns about transitioning to a digital system is the onboarding, the training. What does that process look like? So, this is just going to be a brief overview of how we do it here at Alchemy. So, typically, the onboarding process is 4 weeks. There's usually 4 to 5 trainings involved with that, depending on the staff's ability to grasp it. Typically, it's one training per week, and oftentimes there are a little bit of homework. What I mean by homework is the staff will need to go and practice things during this onboarding period. Um, this is just a brief outline of typically how it goes. So the first week, you'll do a kickoff call, meet your account manager, and kind of just add the staff profiles, work on entering the information. We have two options: self setup and setup service that is paid, and we do it on your behalf. Um, if we do it on your behalf, we can typically have any facility done in a few days. And then week 2 and week 3 are usually where we meet with the staff and train them. You'll notice learn, practice, and report. So we'll train the staff. They can go and practice, like I mentioned with the homework. And then the next training, they can come back to us and tell us, here's what was difficult, here's what was easy, things like that. This is a time where they can get hands-on practice documenting, and then we can always go and erase the documentation when we get to the go live date, which is usually in week 4. That's where you'll choose a date. You'll work with your account manager to choose a date, and that is when you'll start using Alchemy full time. Typically, by this point, your staff will have a few weeks training, so it won't be as abrupt in terms of making the transition. It'll be a little bit more smooth. Um, the big thing here is that you attend the trainings and you do the homework. You'll notice, according to our sort of studies, that's a fancy way of saying it, but 95% of facilities that do the trainings, that show up to each training, have been able to successfully implement Alchemy within the first month. That just really goes back to attendance to the meetings and then the homework. If everybody can kind of do their part, it helps make that process smooth. Just a few things that the staff will be able to do kind of as they go through the trainings. Of course, the MARS, documenting progress notes. We can also train your admins or yourself on how to get ready for LPA or QA inspections. And then, later when new staff does come, people on your team will be able to train them pretty easily. And then the last thing here is we do have 24/7 support. So if your staff or yourself are having issues, whether it's day or night, there'll be somebody who can take a call, text, email, things like that. And then there is no real barrier on the amount of trainings you can have. So if it does need to be more than the 4 or 5 that we offer, we can always do that. Let's say you get a new staff member down the line and you don't feel comfortable having your staff train them, we can always get on there and help out. And then again, you'll be assigned an account manager who will be there to walk with you and help you as you make the transition. So you won't be completely alone. Again, these are some of those account managers, John, Tyler, and CJ. They are the ones who you'll be assigned to one of them, and they'll be there to take your calls, your emails, your texts. They'll help you do the trainings. They'll be right by your side through the whole process. And then just a few, I guess, quotes from some of our customers. A lot of times what we notice is people think it's going to be harder than it actually turns out to be. So you'll see that Andrea said, I thought transitioning to Alco was going to be a nightmare. I should have done this a year ago. Or Darlene, she says that when the staff realized it was less work, they were even more excited and they, were a lot more receptive. So it just helps to get the staff in front of the system and everybody can kind of realize, hey, you know what, this isn't as bad as I thought. So I just wanted to share just a few customer experiences.